Good morning. Welcome to the Premium Public Video Forecast discussion for Friday, May 30th, 2025. It's the last Friday of May. Next week, we're in June, obviously. And by next week, we'll be talking about much warmer conditions. But before we get there, we're going to have to deal with yet another rainstorm and another cool, unsettled weekend. So if you're looking to head to the beach and go out and get a tan and all that good stuff that everyone does during the summer, you got one more weekend with not so good weather, and then we start to shift to something a little bit more favorable. Okay. So first, let's take a look at the tropics because we're going to be keeping an eye on that as well as we move forward over the next several weeks as we enter the start of the hurricane season. But before we begin, please like, share, and subscribe. It actually helps the channel out quite a bit. Hit the notification bell because sometimes it works. And also, if you're interested in this type of discussion every day, definitely check out the Premium Consulting membership. Only $15 a month. All right, let's dive in. So first we have the tropical Atlantic, and there has been a lot of rumors floating around about potential storms and activity bubbling up in 15 days or 10 days or early June. Here's the reality. Model guidance, especially the GFS, but sometimes the European, can produce phantom low pressure systems. And some individuals can get awfully excited about that. But in reality, you have to take a look at what environment we're dealing with. And the environment that we're dealing with right now is plenty of shear over the Eastern Caribbean, a lot of dry air over the Central and Western Caribbean, plenty of frontal boundaries hanging around the Gulf Coast and Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, whatever the heck you want to call it. I don't at me, okay? I don't care. Meanwhile, over the Atlantic here, see this kind of haze? That's Sahara dry dust. Dry dust is kind of like diamond dust in a baseball field, right? They use it to dry out the field, so that way after a rain you can still play. Well, it's the same type of process, all right? This dust basically kills off any chance of any type of tropical development. So we have the intertropical convergence zone right here. So this is where winds converge at the lower levels of the atmosphere and mid levels of the atmosphere, producing convection. And we'll be keeping an eye on this all season long for some storms to spin up. But right now, nothing is really going on. It is pretty quiet. So when we look at the model guidance, what's the best way to track tropical organization? Well, in my opinion, I like to use a different factor called precipitable water values. So we're going to show that in a moment. But I just wanted to take a look at the MJO real fast, as this will be the primary forcing mechanism throughout the summer because we don't have an El Nino or La Nina. And right now, we're pretty much in a neutral state. Going to touch into phase 4 and 5 for a very short period of time, not long enough to really have an impact. Then we shift towards phase 6, 7, and 8 for, let's say, the first 10 days of June. These phases 7 and 8 are technically favorable for some mischief to develop in the Atlantic. It's not a guarantee, it's just that the atmosphere is more favorable. However, we also know right now that the current environment is very much unfavorable. We got shear, we got dry air, we have dust. It's just not the best conditions. So right now we don't see any strong signal in the observations nor in the MJO forecast for robust development, but it's something that you should probably just keep an eye on, but not get too overly excited and certainly not make outlandish videos and potential or statements saying, oh, look at this, we're going to have a tropical development, because that's really unsafe. So here's how I like to look out for tropical development. Now, this is the precipitable water values. And as you can see, we have a very high amount of moisture in the atmosphere around the intertropical convergence zone. So overall, the tropics are, as you would expect, full of moisture, right? Because it is the tropics after all. You can see the influence of the Sahara Desert here with some of the lower values in moisture, again, more down in this range here. So there is our dry air influence. And then here's the rest of the tropics. Now, what I am looking for when I am studying the potential for tropical development is a focusing and basically almost like a ball-like nature to the moisture, because in that it's a sign of the warm core process developing. You're getting a focusing of that moisture into basically a round circle. Okay, so when we look at this, the signal I'm seeing with these triangles here are tropical waves. Pretty good tropical waves, but tropical waves nonetheless. When we are looking for development, what you're looking for is for this tropical wave, let's say this triangle, to start to break out and start to consolidate. We don't see any sign of that right now, okay, as we go all the way to 10 days out. Literally no sign of that whatsoever. You have some focus here over the Caribbean, but nothing really organized. And this is more of a shear signal here. The intertropical convergence zone is active. Here's another tropical wave interacting with a lot of dry air. And the Gulf Coast and the Gulf itself is just, well, disorganized. No real organized tropical convection over the next 10 days. Just, passing cold fronts and whatnot. And then beyond that point, do we see anything in the 10 to 15 day period? Well, not really. You have some organization around the Yucatan Peninsula here, but it's not really that strong. Again, we're talking about 10 to 15 days out, so I wouldn't trust any of the details. And you also have a lot of convective feedback signals with some of these bullseyes here showing up as well, which is typical. Again, plenty of dry air. Yeah, you have moisture here in the Caribbean, but it is basically June, so we should be seeing this. If we're going to see any type of development at all, it might be around the Yucatan Peninsula via some sort of tropical lower depression. See this signal right here, maybe something, but it's not really that strong. So I'm not really expecting anything, certainly not over the next 7 days, and certainly not over the next 10 days. As we get into mid-June, maybe something around the Yucatan Peninsula, maybe, but not really that strong of a signal. As far as our weather pattern overall, I do want to point out that we start to shift to seeing more moisture being transported out of the Gulf and from the Caribbean and moving up the East Coast. And this doesn't signify rainfall per se. It could, but it also means that we're going to see an increase in humidity in the atmosphere. And basically, our weather pattern is going to get ready to change. Now, right now, we're dealing with these upper level lows developing right over the region and these rainstorms. We have another one coming tonight, which we'll talk about in a moment. But the overall pattern is going to shift, and it's going to shift where we're going to see more of a trough to the west of us, and the ridge over the Western Atlantic start to gain a little bit more control. So as we move through the next 10 days, one more upper level low, but this one is much weaker. So the impacts are more like an isolated shower or two on Wednesday than anything else. And then there starts the formation of our Western Atlantic Ridge signal and our ridge couplet overall starting to take shape. And as we move through June, it becomes stronger and stronger. And notice the storm tracks here start to shift more to our northwest. You get a trough here, weakness here, maybe a weakness right around here. And you get a Western Atlantic ridge here and a ridge couplet here. So your heat builds here. Heat is able, more humidity as well, is able to surge up the East Coast. But I do not see any support for excessive heat in any way, shape, or form at this time. We're talking about 80s with dew points in the 60s and 70s. So certainly an increase in humidity, certainly more summer-like conditions, no more 50s and 60s, more like 70s, 80s, maybe an occasional 90-degree temperature as we move through the first half of June. And you can see that very nicely here in terms of the 850 millibar temperatures, moderating and shifting more to a warmer regime. Notice, see this time, polar air mass invades pretty nicely here. We got a nice little deep drop in our temperatures around 1, maybe even 0 degrees Celsius on Sunday. And then the next cold front that moves through, well, it's not as strong. We're talking about like 10 degrees Celsius, so 10 degrees warmer in the mid-levels. And then after that, the warm air gets even stronger. We could be pushing 20 degrees Celsius, which again is 80s, maybe a few lower 90s thrown into the mix here. But the overall theme is that the heat builds and it starts to push into the mid-Atlantic. If you're looking for a cool spot, head up towards the St. Lawrence River Valley up towards northern New England, that's where you're pretty much going to keep your 60s and 70s with stalled frontal boundaries. And of course, in this type of weather pattern, we'll have to keep an eye on thunderstorms dropping south as well as we move through mid-June. But we can't do details on that just yet because it's convective weather, it is mesoscale meteorology, and we don't have the ability to see that far in terms of those type of details. So that is where our weather pattern is evolving. Let's see what we're dealing with right now. Well, we have a stationary front / warm front over the region with a weak wave of low pressure. It's pretty much going to wash out. We have rain off the coast, a few showers here over southern New Jersey. Most of the region is featuring variable cloud cover with temperatures generally ranging from the lower to mid 60s around the region. Winds are coming in from the southeast, but they're very light, anywhere between 1 to 5 miles per hour for most of the region, about up to 10 miles per hour right on the immediate coast because there's less friction. So the winds can be a little bit stronger, but you can see not very strong winds. When we take a look at the latest radar and surface map from WeatherTap, and let me refresh this real fast. Okay, so this first wave of rain missed us, which was expected, but we still have some scattered showers. And then we get a break, and then here is our rainstorm setting up for tonight. And by tonight, I mean after 8 p.m. Really, for many locations, more like around midnight. So if you have plans for this evening, well, you might be able to squeeze through, but you probably want to keep an umbrella handy or some rain gear handy just in case. So what is driving all this? Well, let's take a look at 250 millibar winds. Here's our first trough. This is exiting out right now. That's what's supporting the rainfall that is currently right on the southern New Jersey coast, heading out in the Atlantic. This feature will continue to dive in towards the Ohio and Tennessee River Valley, intensify, form a new upper level low while it's lifting through our region. And this is also going to support a nice low pressure system, a strengthening one, marching right over New Jersey and through the New York City metro into southern New England. While that's happening, you see this feature up here? This feature will become better organized and form into a new upper level low that's going to be a real pain in the neck for us through the rest of this weekend with unsettled conditions. So this feature here and this jet streak here is what's going to set up the stage for a nice heavy rainfall event for us tonight. And so you can see the moisture starting to pull and get pulled in towards the coastal plain where our precipitable water value is pushing up to 1.5 inches. As our low pressure system organizes here in the Tennessee River Valley and lifts northward, this deep moisture will be able to be drawn in towards the coastal plain and help to aid the support of heavy rainfall. And so you can see this whole process taking place very nicely here on the water vapor satellite picture. There's our departing low pressure system, warm front, stationary front hanging back. Here's our new upper level low and coastal storm that will be taking shape for our neck of the woods for tonight. And then this feature here is what's going to capture this storm as it's lifting up towards the Gulf of Maine and send a series of troughs through our region, keeping us in a threat for scattered showers for tomorrow and still unsettled and cool conditions on Sunday. So all of it's laid out for us on the infrared satellite picture. You can see the intensity of the lifting here associated with this low pressure system. Very nice cold cloud tops consolidated, ready to march into our neck of the woods for tonight. And in the meantime, plenty of low clouds hanging around the region this morning. I think we'll see a little bit more breaks of sun, especially over eastern Pennsylvania and western New Jersey. Then with this break of sun, it will destabilize the atmosphere a little bit. A few isolated showers will be a threat, but the main event really is coming in for tonight. So in terms of lifting over the next 90 hours, there is our upper level low at 500 millibars at around 2 a.m., lifting up through the southern mid-Atlantic. The divergence in diffluence helps to support heavy rainfall over our neck of the woods. There's our new upper level low creating havoc for us for this weekend. And there you can see it just kind of spinning about for Saturday, and that's what's going to keep us with the threat for scattered showers. And then on Monday, this looks like it could produce more rainfall, but in reality, we're going to have far less moisture because of the northwesterly flow. So the only thing this produces is scattered cloud cover on Monday, and the same thing on Tuesday. Then we'll watch our next upper level low, but this one is far weaker, lift through, produce more like a few isolated showers than anything else, to be honest with you. On Wednesday, not that bad. It looks more ominous than what it is because we're missing a great deal of moisture in this system, and then more trouble for us for the end of next week. but we'll talk about that in a moment. So with our low pressure system organizing, there's our 850 millibar low organizing as well. That's going to increase the lifting around the region, supporting the heavy rainfall for tonight, especially around midnight. And in terms of precipitable water value, well, that just spikes very nicely tonight and then kind of lingers on through tomorrow, supporting the potential for scattered showers. This is a clear signal of an organizing 700 millibar low as well. You can see the dry air transport on the eastern side of the 700 millibar low, and the moisture transport behind it, kind of wrapping in moisture from the Atlantic, keeping us with the threat for scattered showers. But after that, on Sunday, notice the drop in the precipitable water values. They just crash. So we're not going to have a lot of moisture on Sunday, so just a few isolated showers. And on Monday, not much moisture as well. Same thing on Tuesday. And then on Wednesday, we start to see an increase in the showers with some disorganized lifting. Again, open up the potential for a few isolated showers until we get to the end of the week. So we're going to look at the NAM first. And again, some pesky showers today, but again, not anything widespread. There's our heavy rain exiting off the coast. Again, for today, a few isolated widely scattered showers. The main event of the heavy rainfall invades tonight after 8 p.m. from southwest to northeast. So if you're going to a Phillies or a Mets game tonight, you should be able to squeeze in most of the game, if not all of it, but just have an umbrella handy or some rain gear handy just in case you run into a rogue shower or two. But the real heavy rainfall hits late tonight, 10, 11, 12, midnight, all the way on through the early morning hours tomorrow. And then those showers linger on for Saturday. So definitely an unsettled weather pattern. So let's dive into the rest of it, shall we? So for today, increasing variable cloud cover. Look for high temperatures in the upper 60s to lower 70s over the northern interior and along the coast. Mid to upper 70s in the Delaware River Valley. Watch out for a few rogue showers here and there, but certainly not a washout. For tonight, that low pressure system moves through. Waves of heavy rainfall, especially around midnight, with the rain continuing into tomorrow morning, slowly departing with scattered showers lingering. Low temperatures will range from the mid to upper 50s. Tomorrow afternoon, scattered showers hang around the region with high temperatures in the lower to mid 60s over the northern interior, upper 60s to lower 70s along the coast. On Sunday, the low pressure system slowly pushes away, but troughs hang around, leading to scattered cloud cover and a few isolated showers. Look for low temperatures ranging from the mid to upper 40s over the northern interior, upper 40s to lower 50s along the coast. High temperatures in the mid to upper 50s over the northern interior, lower to mid 60s along the coast. So again, a cool weekend is expected. So unfortunately, at least you don't have to pay a lot for air conditioning, right? So that's always good news. Now on Monday, high pressure will be in control. Look for scattered cloud cover with low temperatures in the mid to upper 40s over the northern interior, upper 40s to lower 50s along the coast. High temperatures in the mid to upper 60s over the interior and upper 60s to lower 70s along the coast. On Tuesday, high pressure remains in control with clear skies and low temperatures ranging from the upper 40s to lower 50s around the region and high temperatures ranging from the mid to upper 70s. So you can see we're starting to push into a warming trend. Now on Wednesday, we have an area of low pressure that will pass off the coast with a few widely scattered isolated showers. Other than that, a mix of sun and clouds with low temperatures in the mid to upper 50s and high temperatures ranging from the mid to upper 60s on Long Island and along the immediate coast, upper 60s to lower 70s everywhere else. On Thursday, a warm front will lift through with a few scattered showers, maybe an isolated thunderstorm. Look for low temperatures in the mid to upper 50s. High temperatures will range from the upper 60s to mid 70s on Long Island, upper 70s to lower 80s along the coast, lower to mid 80s over the Delaware River Valley, and lower to mid 70s over the far northern interior because the cold front will start to press through. On Friday, the cold front will slowly move through the region with scattered showers and a few thunderstorms. Look for low temperatures in the mid to upper 60s over the interior and your suburbs, upper 60s to lower 70s in your urban areas, and high temperatures ranging from the upper 60s to mid 70s over the northern interior, upper 70s to lower 80s in the Delaware River Valley, and lower to mid 70s along the coast. And for next weekend, just to give you a preview, high pressure in control the entire weekend. So if we can get through this weekend, next weekend is much better with temperatures in the 80s and plenty of sunshine for both Saturday and Sunday. So a little bit of good news at the end of the discussion. That is your forecast discussion for today. Have a wonderful day. Have an excellent weekend. And as always, stay safe out there.